like, you know what we need? We need like Jay Prince to come in to the CDC and tell the government and the Pfizer to like come together. Y'all need to come together.
Yeah, he's just standing in the middle shooting a finger gun at the camera. I love that. Jay Prince is going to be the solution to getting people not only vaccinated, but making pharmaceutical companies behave with some level of regulation.
Can you imagine Jay Prince as like head of the CDC? This is what we're not going to do. This is what we're not going to do.
Right. It's just a bunch of goons around him. He's got to like, nah, chill. You don't have to kill the journalist because they asked a dumb question.
The government growing babies. Microchips in your anus. All koala bears are racist. The ozone layer owes me money. Martians invented turkey stuffing. Y'all can't tell me nothing.
Yep. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another phenomenal episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the pockets of Black conspiracy theories, and we finally work to prove that Tristan Thompson continues to cheat on Khloe Kardashian as an ongoing effort to motivate all of us to similarly spit in the face of the billionaire class. That's right. Tristan wants us to see that while we cannot unmarry ourselves from billionaires, we can always work to destroy their self-worth and ultimately take away their power. Thank you so much, Tristan Thompson, for your inspiration. You are a leader. You are a guide for all of us. What a goddamn hero, Tristan Thompson. We should all write a poem for Tristan Thompson, a letter of gratitude. I'm your host, Langston Kerman. As always, I'm coming in hot, baby. You know how I do. You know how the fuck I get down. I'm excited. Today it's going to be a fun one. My guest today, I don't know how he feels about Tristan Thompson. I don't know his position on Tristan Thompson. We'll find out. I suppose he'll probably come in with some info on it. But either way, he is a phenomenally talented writer, a hilarious dude. You know him from being the showrunner, executive producer of Insecure, a little program called Insecure that's currently in its final season that you should be watching, you dumb bitch. Watch the goddamn show. And then, of course, you also know him as the executive producer of another program called Pause with Sam J, a phenomenal show also on HBO. He's hilarious. Please give it up for my guest, Mr. Prentice Penny.
What's up?
What up, dog?
What's up, man? That Tristan Thompson shit. I feel like first off, that's the best take I've heard about Tristan Thompson. And the best, what I love the most is that she is a writer. She is giving this nigga a chance. I feel like if this was a movie, what you would have Khloe realize I should probably be with Kanye.
Yeah.
Because like that's the one that wants to be with the wife. Tristan, like, you know what I mean? It's like, we were friends, but we probably should have hooked up. But I hooked you up with like my sister,
right?
And really, we should be together.
That's is like a Love Actually standing at the door with the cards kind of vibe.
Very much. It's totally cheap. Like whatever. I can't say his name. The other chick from Pirates, where it's that moment where it's like, I actually love you.
Rick Grimes and the other lady just staring at each other and being like, we can't be together, but you know we're supposed to be together.
Yep.
I love that. I love to think that Kanye and Khloe are secretly pining for each other just because neither one of them will leave. I feel like they're not attracted to each other. They couldn't possibly be, but they know this person will stay no matter what.
They'll stay. I have beautiful, whatever kind of, like whatever race children they're having.
Sure.
And just keep that.
I think all their kids are whatever new race America is going to eventually turn into. Yeah. Like they're not even really biracial. They're just sort of like a new brown that just is for every kid that comes out of that family.
Yeah, like they're that race that white people are afraid of is happening to America.
Yes, very much so.
Like it's getting darker, but not in a darker that's like dark, like not Lupita dark, but darker than like what I'm comfortable with dark.
Yeah. It's more fold your arms dark than it is like grab your purse.
It's a very fold your arms dark.
We can't keep talking about these weird brown kids, though. You came today with a conspiracy theory that frankly, it's a big one. It's not a small feat that we're going to take on today, but you said, my mama told me.
The government, Big Pharma, are withholding the cure for cancer for their own personal gain.
Yes.
Tell me more.
My dad, my dad's from Oklahoma, by way of Oklahoma. So everything my dad does before he passed away is very black. Everything he was like always like, we had a furniture store in Compton. Everything he was like, he told me like when my mom and my dad got divorced, he was like on some like my mom was like, I want him to be a white kid so he knows how to, and my dad was like, I want him around niggas all the time. Because he was like, I don't trust these white people.
Yeah.
And so that has like, because you know they're always up to something.
Sure.
There's always a thing, right? And so recently I just watched Dope Sick, which if people haven't watched Dope Sick, that's why I'm like, they knew. These people made Oxycontin and knew.
Yes.
It was knew it was an opiate and got the FDA to basically lie and say it's not addictive. Now you're talking a pharmaceutical company and a government agency that's supposed to regulate basically got together and said, heroin is okay.
Look, don't shoot it in your veins, but if you want to pop it as a pill.
If you want to pop it as a pill, snort it, we know what it's doing. We know what it's doing. They just said black bar, 8-ball heroin is cool. Like, we cool with it. It's not addictive. It's not addictive. And you just go like, they knew. So that's why I'm like, the government knows. And I'm not one of these anti-vaxxers. I'm fully vaccinated. All my kids are vaccinated. So I want to preface it by saying that. But if they knew there was a cure for COVID, there's so much more money in the vaccines.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know if you saw this article today, but the head of Pfizer. So yesterday there was all that the big deal that Pfizer was saying, yeah, three shots and you're going to be straight.
I thought that too. I thought that too.
Right?
Yep.
And then today, the head of Pfizer was like, hey, dog, I think we're going to need a 4th shot.
No, are you serious?
Yeah, like he came out today and was like, I'm feeling like 4 shots is really going to get y'all protected. And while I think that there is plenty of legitimacy to the vaccines and to people necessarily getting vaccinated to protect themselves and their families, their people around them, there's something fucking weird about a dude
Very
3
weird.
weeks into a new variant being like, we're going to have to re-up again, y'all. I don't know. This is
mad suspicious. I thought the same thing where he was like, I don't think 2 enough. We're going to need to get that 3rd.
Yeah.
Where you go like, oh, and now it's in a 4th? Come on, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's something real iffy about, and like the pills are coming out fast. That's why I'm like, it's something, I'm not a conspiracy person that doesn't believe COVID is like fake. And nor do I believe that these vaccines don't work. I'm like, they fully work.
Yeah.
But again, if they was to give you like, let's say the COVID, like the COVID booster though is like, let's say the COVID booster is only like 5%. So you really don't need it, but but he's basically playing on fear, right?
Yes.
Y'all want to run. You can roll the dice if you want to, but y'all trying to go to Tulum this year. So I'm just saying.
And that's the thing. And I want to be clear about what specifically, he's not saying you need the 4th right now. He's saying he knows that we're going to need a 4th down the line.
Right.
But he's not a scientist. He's the head of a pharmaceutical company. And we're not far enough into this for him to be making that decision. So you can't possibly be functioning from a place that isn't biased.
Or they know, and they're just also grooming us to be, because basically what I've been reading is like, there's stuff, it's an endemic. You're going to have to get a COVID shot like a flu shot every year. That's like kind of what they're saying is like, it's just going to be a new flu. Not worse than the flu, obviously, but a thing that will pick up cyclical based on patterns, right?
Yes.
So if you're like, that's the thing, you just lay in, because the government, they always do shit like this. They always lay in some maybe shit, right? Yeah. Like when the shit happened and they was like, you might not need a booster for like 8 to 10 months. And then they came back and was like, you might need it after 6.
Yeah,
and then they
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, but just for, and then it's like, nah, get that shit now. Because they know the pattern. They've had enough time with it, not to like know everything it does, but they can certainly see, they certainly understand human behavior in America,
Yes.
how we roll, and they certainly understand what's happening in the world. So they're just like too smart to like not know kind of people don't want to be in the house right now.
Exactly.
It's a holiday time. People want to be with family members like because they couldn't last year. There's new shit, Omicron. Like I call it Omarion. Omarion stepped into the club, like came in there with Chris Stokes,
Yeah.
fucking up shit. Touch, yeah, came in here, told Raz B to chill it out. I got it.
Yeah.
I got this one. It just came to turn up. So I just feel they know. I agree with you. I think you might even hear because now they dropping 16 to 17-year-olds get their booster. They know they just trying to, I think, slowly introduce us to like the fact that this thing is going to be kicking it. It's definitely kicking it if nobody gets vaccinated, right?
Yes.
If we still on this so it's not going. If it's not going to go nowhere, then I think you are just going to see more mutations to some degree, and so they know. But they also know we can make some money on this thing too, which I firmly believe. They're like, oh, this the new hot shit. This the new Oxycontin.
And I think in a very frustrating and scary way, the government is meant to be neutral, or at least a level of neutral in all of this, right?
Yeah.
And so the government should see this dude go, hey, I think we need a 4th shot. And they should be like, hey, chill the fuck out, man. Don't get to say that. That ain't. We'll decide because we have entire organizations dedicated to figuring this out. But instead, they greenlight publishing articles featuring this man being like 4 shots and you free. And it's like, bro, somebody has to be an adult in this and go chill until we figure the shit out. So let's talk a little bit more specifically about the cancer of it all. So I know you're saying that you certainly are seeing a trend in terms of like the pharmaceuticals with like opioids and obviously we're talking about it in terms of COVID. Is there anything specific in relation to the cancer of it all that you feel like is sort of like glaring and illuminating for you?
My grandmother had cancer. My grandfather had it and both went into remission with it. But I've had other family members, cousins that have passed away from it. The thing I always find interesting about the first thing is going to sound stupid. Okay. So I preface that it would be stupid. I'm like, cancer been here forever.
Yeah.
We ain't no closer than making people go, than chemo, basically shooting radiation in you. I'm like, that's what we do. We basically shoot X-rays in you to kill it, and that we're still at that same level. I'm like most medicinal surgeries, like back in the day when you had a surgery, like 1865. They cut you open with a saw, they give you some tonic, and that was like anesthesia, and you figured it out. Today they got robots doing surgery. The surgeon's never even in there, right? Sometimes, right? They got laser shit that can fix your eyes sight. Right. They should like the level of like what has happened in so many other medical fields to me is like baffling that like cancer's solved is still either just die or we're going to do the same shit we've been doing to you for about 70 years.
Yeah.
And that's because you also know they don't not understand how cancer replicates. They don't not understand anything. They got all these nanobots. They ain't got no nanobot pill you can swallow that go in and like eat the cancer. They ain't got nothing. That's my thing. So I'm like, because there's so much money in research. There's so much money to be raised in research because if you end it, essentially, you end it. So like if it's like 1920 something and you the best smallpox vaccine maker ever, how much money is in smallpox in 2021?
Yeah.
Ain't no money in smallpox. Ain't no money in like typhoid fever. Ain't no money in that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, but if you was like, you could still get smallpox. Think about how long you'd be taking like a smallpox pill or a shot for the last 100 years. How much money if you had to do that every time? We just gonna fix it just enough because it's all money, right? It's not like and we have to pay. It's not like the government's paying, right? That's why I also know it's a conspiracy because if the government, like other countries, when the government, like if you go to France and the government pays to deliver your baby. Like I asked a friend of mine, he's from France. He was like, it cost me $100 basically when I walked out the hospital with my baby.
God
I'm
damn.
like, Jesus, that's what I said, bro. I was like, but see, if the government had to pay to have your baby, they'd be like, oh no, we good. You don't we got it, but it's gonna be manageable. If the government had to pay, but because it's all independent insurance companies, the government's like, we don't give a fuck.
Right.
Whatever. Like they don't have a horse in the race to solve the problem. Like the government has a horse in the race to fix COVID, right? We got to get the economy up. People aren't traveling. We're losing money as a country. People are gonna we may not even have a country, but but cancer. Maybe somebody gets it, maybe somebody doesn't. There's no money in the fix because the government has no horse in the race.
And almost, if I sort of going along with the point that you're making, I think there's also the government as a body has a horse in the race to fix these things, but the individuals who make up the government don't have a horse in the race because they're being paid off oftentimes
100%.
by the companies who are advocating for, support my pharmaceutical, whatever, or my endeavor to do blah, blah, blah. So it really is a sort of unbeatable game of getting enough people to put their own self-interest aside to come
100%.
to like a common agreement that cancer's bad. We shouldn't have it no more. Let's just get rid of it.
100%. Because if you build on what you just said, right? So again, they have no stake because not everybody gets cancer.
Yeah.
So if they were to fix it, you're not even fixing it for all the population. I don't even know what the 1 in number of people who get cancer, right? But let's just say it's 1 in 8.
Yeah.
It's just an arbitrary number. Well, then you're only making money off every 8th nigga.
Right.
It's not like COVID where where you oh, everybody got to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're them, you well, we'll make more money if we don't fix it because we'll just keep raising money to say, because they love boasting. This is why I also know shit's funny style. When niggas start boasting about how much they do, but the job ain't done. Oh, we've done more in this field than anything. But why we ain't no further then? You've been raising $1 billion. We ain't no further than X-rays into your body, radiation. That's it. We in the same core. Sure, I'm sure there's small things for sure. I'm not just dismissing that nothing's happened in the cancer business. But by and large, when you're that is still the main form of treatment, that's when I go, that's funny style. That's some shit. Because we put niggas on the moon. We went from flight in 1900-something to niggas in the moon in 60 years. We went from not even flying at all to outer space.
No, I mean,
it's crazy.
We can make BBLs that jiggle now. You know what I mean? You can, there are things that science has figured out that truly seems like impossible feats, even in my
100%.
early adolescence. And now you're saying, to your point, some of the innovations of cancer treatment specifically feel like they are stilted in a way that doesn't track with the rest of our other innovations.
Not at all. Not at all. And to me, it's also why I also think it's the last, even think about HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
When it was that was basically, you was done. I thought, man, I ain't gonna see Magic after 96.
Sure.
It's a wrap. You know what I mean? And Magic's still out here fucking up the Lakers draft picks in 2018. So it's just that's why I know it's funny stuff, because I'm everything else has moved, but that's the last, I feel like cancer is the last medical, mountaintop. If you can get over that, everything else is they can put a pill in you, see your heart, see your insides. There's so many things that have to move the needle. That feels like the last, almost like the Shangri-La. That's almost like a lost city that we'll never see, that they always tell we're so close to, though.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What do you think, or do you think there's anything that can be done or would happen that would make them eventually, and them is such a royal them.
Sure.
It's a nebulous them. But do you think there's anything that could happen that would make the powers that be finally come around to admitting or showing us the potential treatment to this?
Never. I can never see them. Can you imagine if they ever said they sat on cancer, like they sat on UFOs? Can you imagine? Can you imagine like that niggas sat on cancer? Like I guess I can't imagine it, because I'm like, it would take almost, because that's the other weird thing about cancer. Because cancer, there are a lot of if you look at cancer, there's a lot of similarities to me to COVID.
Yeah.
Which is, you could get COVID and be fine.
Yep.
It could go away, or you could get COVID and die in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And anything in between, you could lose your sight, you could stomach shit, toes messed up, and everything, headaches, super
People's
sick.
toes literally were falling off in the beginning of this pandemic.
Right. It's a lot of motherfuckers come out the pandemic like, yo, why did I was just too late. But on cancer, that's the same thing too. It's such a wide array of outcomes. You can get cancer and be at like this stage, that stage. It could, like, you could do a minimal treatment and it go away, or you could be like about to die 2 weeks. You could have 2 months to live. Some shit happen and you like live another 10 years or go fine. Like the range of outcomes of when you're diagnosed to like what occurs. And also the fact, here's the other thing I know why it's some bullshit, because they have so many early detection shits. But cancer always be sneaking up on you, like with like a cousin when you get famous and they pop up and like, yo, you famous now. And you're like, where was you coming? Like, wait, I just got this money. Cancer be like that. You be totally fine. And then the next year you be like, I got cancer.
Right.
And it's this level. And you like, how? There ain't no pill you can take that's like, there's no blood test you can take to say, maybe the cancer coming. That's the part I don't get. I don't get how it just is like pops up and there's nothing we can do ahead of time. They'll be like, in the same way that you go get like prostate screened or you go get a breast exam, there's no like pre-cancer exam we can do.
Yeah. And to that point, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on like this being like complete, like they're sitting on like a fucking magic pill that would solve this problem and make us all cancer free. But I do agree with you that they probably are sitting on a lot of solutions and pre-solutions to this problem that they are never going to introduce, certainly to like the average citizen in America. You know what I mean?
No.
If they have all the scans to be able to like know everything that's happening in my body, and if they allowed me to have all of those scans on a yearly basis, monthly basis, whatever it is that would keep us all healthy and functional, we probably could tackle these things early. But that's expensive and doesn't pay off the same way as somebody getting sick and surviving.
Because there's no money in wellness.
Mm-hmm.
They can't give you anything, right? So like, there's no money in like you being healthy. The money is because like I think about all the old shit like your grandma, your great grandma used to tell you about like just like you could get something right. You could take a medicine like a pill for it or whatever. Or you could also, like, I'm not saying this is true in every case, because of course not. Of course, medicine is, like, amazing. There's so many amazing things. But penicillin is really just mold. It's a natural thing. Like, so many things that I think about, like, I was with somewhere the other day, and this woman was like, this is going to sound real Hollywoodish, but it's not. The point is that somebody was doing my makeup for a photo shoot. And the woman was like, oh, man, you're scared. I know. It sounded bad in the setup, but I'm willing to take that L.
No, you're fine. My listeners are bougie too. Go ahead, finish.
She literally was like, what have you been using on your skin? Like, what soap regimen is? I said, nothing. I said, I've just been drinking a gallon of water a day for 5 months. Right. And she was like, Jesus. And I was like, yeah, I've noticed it too. I said, but before I would have gone and like, and I'm not saying you don't have to take care of yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But I would be getting like all these other things to like fix the problem as opposed to realize, oh, maybe the problem is just in the health, that taking care of myself with the natural things that like you're told as a child, which is like eat fruits and vegetables, drink water, don't eat junk, like don't do, and you know, it's like all those things that over time they fuck your body up. So then when they fuck your body up, then you got to go take, like I did this too. This is interesting too. Do this on football Sundays. Watch the ads you see in between football commercials. Because if you notice, in between football commercials, it's a very specific ads. It's a fast food ad, it's a soda or an alcohol ad, and it's like a bad food ad, like a chips, and then there's a pill ad. Watch, I'm just, because they know.
Yeah.
They know. That's what I'm saying. It's nothing, there's no money in being healthy. There's money in you get sick and we can give you shit. Because think about all the, like, to the point about the cancer stuff, think about all the equipment that gets built to like do that, right? To like do that. And then all the people that are employed doing that. And then all the big companies that funnel that where that goes, you go, that's billions of dollars
Right.
are in the equipment just alone, not the research, not this. So like, why give you a pill? Like eventually that pill, you go to your whatever, you go to your medical insurance, that pill might cost you $15. There's no money in them making $15 on you. There's money in you coming in, spending all that money on the radiation, on the this, on the that, on the that, on the that, because then they can just bill your company, bill your insurance, all this amount of money, then your copay goes up. I mean, that's the thing, right? And then you live or you don't live, but either way, we got our check. Somebody gonna come along next and take your spot. I mean,
what you're saying reminds me, when I lived in an apartment for a while in LA, and down in the garage area, they had a bunch of signs that basically said that like fumes down here could potentially be like cancer causing or like be a risk for you to be inhaling. And that sign exists not because they're worried that I might get sick, but that sign exists as accountability for the building and for the people that made the fumes in the first place to make sure that I can't then get my comeuppance once I do in fact get sick. So it's this odd, fucked up game of being like, yo, we're not actually trying to make you better. We just trying to make sure that you, if you live, you can't come and get rich off of what happened to you.
100%. 100%.
And that exists in the foods that we eat, that exists to your point, that exists even in the pills that they're pitching as a solution to the foods that you eat, right?
100%.
Like they tell you eat this food, then they go take this pill because you feel weird after you ate that food. And then they go, by the way, that pill, it's got some other problems that you should be aware of, but that ain't our problem because we told you ahead of time. That ain't got nothing to do with us.
If you shit yourself as your child's, violin recital, it ain't on us. We told you. You're going to have loose shit. We told you.
We warned you. And
we warned you. Also, that's the other thing. How comes a pill has 8,000 things it's going to do to you? It's going to do one good thing for you and then fuck up because what all those things tell me to your point about not being sued is they tested it and that pill had a wide array of outcomes that they did not predict. Because when they make that pill, they didn't make that pill to be like, it's going to cure your eyesight, but you know what we're also going to put it in? Shit that makes you shit.
Right.
They didn't put that in there
wasn't
on purpose
their plan.
To make you shit. That wasn't their plan. They legitimately made that pill to fix your heart. And then along with fixing your heart, they realized, that shit, it made because to make enough people for them to put it in the disclosure, you have to have enough people that it happens to.
Yeah.
So you have to understand how many people they tested this on, and then how many people said, I can't see right now.
Right. And they're like, but does your tummy still hurt? And you're like, no. And they're like, good. Sell that shit.
Yep. Adenogen, I'm shitting a lot.
But do you feel more confident?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you,
great.
Yes. But you're confident enough to call me that you're shitting all the time. So then, great. We're good.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Prentice Penny and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back. Yeah, we're back here with more My Mama Told Me, more Prentice Penny. We're still talking about the possibility that the government and Big Pharma have teamed up. They've morphed Power Rangers style to make sure that we never get a chance to cure some of the worst ailments, and specifically cancer. Do you think that there are individuals, at least, who might spill some of these secrets, that like there are people, where do you stand in that like, is the government so good at this that they're able to keep everybody quiet, or are there people who are going to like Edward Snowden this shit and like give us the real low on everything?
Well, you know what? I do think that's going to happen. And I think the way it usually happens is that, because the problem is the second the government comes out, they've almost fucked themselves in some way, that they almost can never come out with it. Here's why I say that. Because if they come out with like one advanced step and people go, whoa, this is like a huge step in like the last 70 years in cancer stuff. This is great. When did you guys discover this? And when they start asking questions like that and they start coming out with like new shit, you gotta answer for the old shit. And then you're gonna hear like So somebody gonna lie and say, "Oh, we've been working on it, but we just discovered it." And somebody's gonna be like, somebody sitting right now with a bunch of information, I believe, and is like, doesn't know what to do with it, but it's like, fucking nobody's gonna listen anyway. And then when those things come out, it's typically when people start talking because they feel guilty. So either the government is gonna either there's gonna be like, we can never really advance it because people will ask too many questions, or we'll advance it and then maybe risk. But they're only going to advance it if it makes financial benefits to do it. Because it's not like COVID where like the thing is causing the downfall of the economy and the world collapse as we know it. It's a thing that people just kind of accept that could happen because it's so nebulous. It's so nebulous. Could it happen? I don't know. It could. It couldn't. Who knows? But yeah, so I think you will. I think there's people sitting on info for sure that they know 100%.
I think to your point, there's something almost more powerful in allowing it to normalize itself, much in the way that we saw with COVID, right? That like when COVID truly was like this novelty, when we were truly afraid of this motherfucker because we didn't understand it, and we still don't understand it, but when we at least all agreed that we didn't understand it, everybody was like, yeah, I do want to stay at home. I do want to wear a mask.
Absolutely.
I want to buy Lysol wipes to wipe down my groceries to make sure that I'm not a potential victim of this thing. And then at the point that it became even remotely normalized, where we saw somebody survive the shit, suddenly we're like, man, I'm not wiping my motherfucking groceries anymore. That's crazy. And so with cancer, it's the same vibe. We've seen people survive enough that it's like, it's normal. It's not ideal, but we can get through this. And it's not something I need to desperately seek a cure for.
Agreed. I think the hardest thing that like any person has to deal with is when it's like, you didn't know anything. You seem totally fine. And now you're at like stage 4. Because it's such a jump from like complete, seemingly healthy to like this. When you're like stage 1, people will deal with a progression, like a regression of health easier because they're processing it in like time, right? Or people will go, you're at stage 1, but like it's early, we caught it. You go, okay, like to your point, it's not ideal, but it feels hopeful, right? I remember when Trump said this, where he was like, a lot of people are gonna die. It kind of is what he basically said. It is what it is. And that's where we're actually at. He wasn't wrong.
No.
He understood that, like, he just said it before. You just can't say it like week 3 in the pandemic.
No. And especially 2 weeks before where you're like, yeah, I think we beat it. I think we're good. We're straight. And then he was like, hey, I'm not even going to hold y'all, man. Some niggas got to die, and it just is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, it's we're saying, it's the messaging, right? It's how the message comes out. So, yeah, man, So,
all right. Let's dig into some of this research because I'm very curious to hear some of your responses to a few of these things, because as far as I can tell, and certainly this is me looking it up in the most literal sense, every reputable site, and I'm going to put quotations around reputable, but reputable site claims that there is no hidden cure for cancer. They say that a magic cure implies, number one, that all cancers are the same, which many argue is false. Even like cancers that attack the same body parts are not necessarily born of the same cause. For example, lung cancer, right? You could have lung cancer because of a genetic thing in your family, or you could have lung cancer because you hit 35 years of Pall Mall cigarettes and that developed lung cancer. And the way that you may need to treat those separate lung cancers is so vastly different. They argue
that's interesting.
that it's impossible or much more challenging for them to say, here's a magic pill that would solve both of those problems.
But that also implies, okay, I hear that. I'm gonna let you talk. But I also feel like, but it's still cancer. Like, you're still calling it cancer. So, like, at some fundamental level, don't they have something in common that connects them to the thing? Or is the word cancer a loose word that just means like any cell that gets like damaged is technically cancer, but what it really is like something totally else?
And I think, to your point, that's a dangerous part of the way that they branded this motherfucker, to be like, this is all the same, when in fact it ain't. Like, to your point, COVID we're going to find out at some point that COVID-19 was not the same thing for people who had a cough and couldn't taste and the people who lost their fingertips. Like they got a different thing, and maybe that different thing was born of the same like little strand, but it wasn't the same shit. You know what I mean? My fingers fell off.
It can't be the same thing.
Yeah.
Because not that many people's fingers fell. Okay, this goes to that counts. Niggas' fingers fell off, but like not a lot of niggas' fingers fell off.
Right,
like,
it wasn't
compared
popular.
To niggas who was coughing. Right, it wasn't like, it wasn't like in the streets. It was like, you like if you was part of the finger falling off crew, you was a specific group of niggas. You know what I mean?
The FFOC, you were a very specific
group of niggas that your fingers fell off. Like what pre-existing shit was in you that when COVID hit, it's like, you know what we gonna do to this nigga? We gonna make his fingers fall.
So with that, they claim that to be able to test every single type of cancer and its variants for a single cure is too long and too vast of a task to just crack the code. There are also some claims that it would not, in fact, be more, and this is a part I'm especially interested to hear your thoughts on. Some people are claiming that it would not, in fact, be more profitable to hide the cure. Big pharma makes insane money with development of new drugs. And if for example, a company were able to create a quote unquote cure all, that drug company would then immediately get the most rich in the history of the planet by creating that cure. And they say that's more than enough proof that there's no reason to hide the cure.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I guess my question would be to that. I don't know how much they make on making a drug versus not making a drug.
Yeah.
But I do understand there's what I feel like the cancer, why I feel like that's a lie, is you get it on both sides with the way it is now. You still got to take medication to deal with the radiation.
Yeah.
You still got to take shit. They don't just be like, here's a Tylenol, deal with the radiation. You got to keep coming back, whether it's the drip that they put into your arm or radiation or some other form of what you're dealing with, but you still got to like come in and deal with it. You still got to come back. Like if you could take a pill right now and you like your cancer is gone right now.
Yep.
There cannot be more money in that than going back to a hospital for 3 or 4 years with radiation treatments and the medicine and seeing the doctor and seeing the oncologist. Like there's so many steps you have to go through and people you have to see when you have cancer that are getting paid every time you go see them. So I can't imagine that like getting a pill and being like, I don't have to see none of y'all no more if I'm good for the rest of my life is more profitable than every time you have to go to the hospital. If you have a copay, they making money on you.
Yeah.
So if you gotta go see 2 or 3 doctors, even if your copay $15, they made $45 off you off the rip.
Right.
Not even like nothing else. Just like, and now do $45 times however many people, millions of people have cancer every year, every time they go see their doctor. So that's the part where I go like, maybe, or maybe what you read is lying.
Yeah. No, I 100% had a similar instinct in this where I was like, yeah, you're probably right that some individual company would be able to get super rich off of sort of the creation of a cancer cure, but then that cuts out so many other incomes that you basically, it'd be like me getting rich and then cutting off my entire family. And so for these organizations, these companies, these people, they're like, yeah, technically I could release this shit and get paid for myself, but I'm trying to keep my niggas put on. So I'm going to make 100%. Sure that, you have to keep going through the channels you go through to keep my people paid.
Because if you're Pfizer, you just don't make a COVID like vaccine. You make a lot of medical shit, right? So you're not just trying to sell your thing to like, let's just take Kaiser, right? Let's say, or whatever, like your Blue Cross, right? If you're Pfizer and you make a medical thing and you trying to get Blue Cross to like pay whatever the amount they're going to pay for whatever. But if you are Pfizer and we're making money on this COVID thing, but I got this cancer shit that's popping.
Yeah.
But if you're Blue Cross, how do you sell, hey, Blue Cross, we have a cancer pill that fixes everything, but you know what it's going to do to you? You won't be able to charge cancer patients no more for nothing.
Yeah.
If you Blue Cross, why would you? You like that? You put me out of business, homie. You know how
I'll
much money I
beat
make on
your ass.
cancer?
You
I'll
lost
beat
your
ass.
mind?
You bring that shit here. That's your motherfucking problem. I mean, think about that. I'm just like, so they make so much money on the other side. Why would you like it? Call the cops on your homie?
Yeah.
And be like, because we both selling.
Yeah, it got me thinking. It sort of, I think this is a loose connection, but it definitely was a connection that popped in my head, is that it had the same energy to me, quote unquote energy to me, as the way that we talk about alternative energies in this country, right? That like, and really across the world, that like right now, in terms of alternative energy, there are like, there's hydrogen, there's tidal, there's biomass, wind, geothermal, natural gas, all this shit, right? And 20%, I didn't know this, 20% of the UK power grid is run by tidal energy now. 20% of it. And so I see that and I ask myself, now, are they using 20% because that is the maximum capacity that they can get from tidal energy? Or is that other 80% just something they owe back to these, these big coal or fossil fuel companies to keep everybody's job in place, to keep people happy and functioning at the same rate and sort of joy level that they already have? And so in the same way with these cancer treatments, it's like, bro, I'm not going to stop selling cocaine and start selling grapefruit because I find out it's healthier for you. I'm in the cocaine business. So I'm going to keep selling coke. And if you don't want coke, nigga, move. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's how exactly it works.
That is exactly how it works. I totally agree. 'Cause that's my same thing here. It's like, we know that like these forms of fuel are better. We know it. But like niggas are like, they too powerful to like shut it down. Like, how much money does the wind energy lobbyists have versus sheiks who are selling the oil to Chevron, and they already got the systems. They got the wire in place. They own the Carters. Like Chevron owns the Carters, so they got it. So it's the same thing. Like you can't compete with it because they just sitting on it.
The wind people can't even get a ride to the meeting. You know what I mean? Like you don't even have an alternative energy ride to this motherfucker. So it just is what it is.
It's like you're like on gas. It's like you can't even come see us because I'm gonna just make the meeting 500 miles away, and your electric car only goes 200. So
exactly.
You can't even show up to the spot.
No. Good luck finding a supercharger somewhere in between. We didn't build one because we don't like you, motherfucker.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an odd game, and it even got me thinking about the way that this language is sort of built, right? Like they still refer to all of this as alternative medicines, alternative energy. And the reality is they very well could be the main source if we so choose to make them that. But alternative implies that there is something on the other side that is our go-to boo. It's our main squeeze, and they will always keep it that way so that we don't start to believe in wind over fossil fuels or oil or whatever it is.
I agree that language is so important because even, I was like in college or high school, like early 90s, college, like mid 90s. Now, if you think about the word alternative, right? So what that means to like people of like, I'm 48. So people that are like 50, you think about like alt music. It doesn't even sound like alt food. It just sounds like some shit that's over in a corner.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that weird music or that weird food or that weird thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how is wind weird? it's like, what are we talking about? It was like we use wind as fuel all up until electric ships.
Yeah.
Wind was the only thing we could use on the water, was wind. Wind was a real resource. But now wind is like, that wind is weird. Like it's
this
just
crazy
that,
like, wind.
This crazy wind. It's just like the branding is better to that. Like I remember when VHS and beta tapes were out. Like beta was a better tape, but VHS it was too expensive to make them to a certain degree. And VHS people was like, we just make everything VHS. It's easier for us.
Right.
Then VHS blew up, but it wasn't like a better quality thing. It was like the people in charge just muscled the VHS because it was easier to make for the movie companies. So that's what they. So you couldn't go to I remember going to a video store. They would barely have beta tapes because movie studios were like, we're not making them in beta because they just cost too much money for us. It's easier to make them in VHS, even though we know the quality's shittier.
Right.
That's the same shit with gas. Like we know electric and shit is better. We know it. It's not even like a debate.
Nope.
It's just like niggas in West Virginia want their big ass F-150s.
Yeah.
So
you could
we
pry
gonna do
them
that.
from their cold white dead hands, you know? So that ain't happening.
No, it's not happening.
It not to linger too much on the COVID of it all, but it also got me thinking about the fact that based on current like numbers, only 5% of the world is vaccinated against COVID. So 5, not 50. In America, we're at 50, but that's because of our personalities, right?
Right.
But 5% of the world is vaccinated against this thing that they're telling us to all get, shots for. And part of it is because these companies are making a choice that it is not worth it to give away their formula to these other places because they can't get paid off this shit.
No.
So even if we all got vaccinated, we don't solve the problem because the rich motherfuckers can't figure out how to be rich enough off of what they're making.
That's the shit that's what's sad. When I saw Dope Sick, I was like, oh, it's just never enough. It's never like enough. But that's my other theory. I don't even think it's a conspiracy theory. But I was like, they don't want to give it to the brown and the black people in other countries. And I said, I called it passive genocide.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was like, because you can't come in like Hitler now and like eradicate people no more. That's just like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But what you can do is go, we're not going to give these people the resources to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And if you wanted to like get rid of brown and black people and take more of their resources in their countries, you just say, well, we couldn't work out a deal to give them the vaccine and like bop, and now they dead.
Yep.
And you go like, that would be the smooth, and nobody would question it. Nobody would like, because it would just be in the form of business. It wouldn't be this like, I came in and shot you in the head. It would just be like, we couldn't work out a deal and, we tried.
Yeah. No, and honestly.
So that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. That's the whole scam, is being like, yo, we can't shoot you in the face no more. That ain't cool, Southern Hemisphere of the world. But what we can do is guarantee that we don't provide any provisions that might keep you from being shot in the face. And we also shoot bullets in the air in your direction and see if they come down at your face. You know what I mean? It's all crazy.
We got this alternative genocide.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. And even with that, like it sort of, we were talking about sort of the connection of like these pharmaceutical companies to big pharma, and we point to the obvious medicines that don't work. Like there's so many medicines historically. It got me thinking about like about Dr. Sebi, right? Like for those who are unfamiliar, Dr. Sebi became especially popular because he claimed to have figured out alternative ways to cure uncurable diseases. HIV and AIDS was on the list. Cancer, I believe, was on his list.
Yeah, cancer was on the list.
There was a bunch of shit on his list that, like, through holistic living and alternative eating methods and drinking methods, you could cure these things. Now, do I personally believe that Dr. Sebi had, in fact, found these cures? I don't. I'll be real. I think he's a healthy grifter in the grand scheme of things. But I do, in looking up a lot of his shit and the responses to his shit, right? You see all of these articles of like reputable sites being like, this is tomfoolery. This man, he's a scoundrel. He's a ruse. It's all fake. And then you look up all these medicines that get put out every year that the FDA has to be like, oh, my bad, y'all. We didn't expect that to do what that did. And there's no fucking big articles about it. They're not calling these companies liars. So you pick Dr. Sebi as an example of don't go down this route, more than because he's doing something so different than what everybody else is doing with drugs.
Yep. He's not doing anything different. And even the name, Big Pharma sound like the homie?
Yeah.
Like that's Big Meech. That's Big Pharma. That's Big Suge. That's Big Pharma.
Yeah.
Even the name we give it is like a gangster ass name, right? Now 100%, dude, everything you're saying to me, I'm like, that's it. Because again, there's no money in making people better. It's only money in the drug. It's the dope game. It's no different than what Jay, Biggie, they all talk about. It's money and keep. If a crackhead gets better, that's a loss of a customer.
Yeah, that's less crack.
It's less crack. It's less people doing the thing that I'm selling.
Yep.
That's at the end of the day, it's like I lose a customer. So if you was to cure cancer, you losing customers.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you losing customers. So it's just a dope game. It's just a different dope game, but it's the same principle.
And even and again is in total support of what you're saying. It's on top of that, it's not even that they can't go and try a different thing, right? It's not that these cold dudes could not become Tide dudes, right? Like they could totally become tidal energy guys, but in doing that, they have to train a new workforce, they have to build new equipment, they have to distribute said equipment. It all costs money that they don't need to spend because they already got their shit in place. So fuck it. I'm a coke dealer. That's what I do. I don't give a fuck if there's a healthier alternative or not.
Yeah, I don't care. If it was if some perks fell in my lap, I'll slang them too. But it ain't what I do. You know, like there's no, like I often thought, I was like, man, what would it take for Chevron to be like, you know what, we're just gonna start an electric division. We're just gonna start it. We're just gonna start it. Well, because again, their game is I need gas in the car, homie. I don't get paid on the electric shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like Edison or Department of Water and Power get paid on that shit. But it don't benefit Chevron to be like, start using water out your house or start using electricity to make shit go. They'd be out of business. They would be legit out of business.
And they don't need to be out of business, right? And that's ultimately what it all comes down to is like, until there is a final straw sort of like in place where it's like, if we don't go out of business or if we don't change the way that we live, the world won't exist anymore, then they're going to keep doing what they do. And no matter what science says about like the world is ending, it don't seem that way. You know what I mean? My day-to-day hasn't changed. So why the fuck would I suddenly change my company?
And if you have money, like as people saw in the pandemic, people that made over like $90,000 a year, $100,000 a year were hardly affected by the pandemic. Really. Sure, emotionally and mentally, but they weren't like, people weren't losing jobs at that level. They weren't worried about where their food was coming from. If you made $40,000 and under, you were severely impacted by it. So if you're an exec at Chevron and you making, like $20 million, or even if you're making $5 million, you're not going to be, even if the world changes, you're just going to be like, well, I'm going to just, I'll get my pool, I'll build some shit, and I'll be okay. Because you're like, I'm not going to live that much longer anyway. I got 20 more years. So it's not really affecting me.
Enjoy your gas, you broke bitch. I'm not worried about you.
No, not at all.
All right, we're going to take one more break. We'll be back with more Prentice Penny and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, we're back here with more Prentice Penny. More My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about the fact that Big Pharma is basically just a big old drug salesman with a cute name. And it's working. It's working. We don't know how to untether ourselves from them. So here we are. This is our permanent life, I guess, forever and always. Or for the next 35 years until humanity stops being what humanity is,
Yep.
Let's play a game. This is that time in the podcast where we always play a game. And for you, Prentice, I made a brand new game. It's a brand new game called Use It or Lose It. And
all right.
With this game, I'm going to introduce to you some medicinal, I guess, options, recommendations that existed in early yesteryear of America and times before. And what I would love for you to do is just meditate on them. Tell me what you think. Do you think we should be reintroducing some of these options to society, or is this something we need to lose forever from the way that we heal and fix people?
All right, sounds good.
Hell yeah. So first off, this is a fun one. Apparently, back in the early 1800s, it was recommended that you use raw meat and hog fat for rabies bites. There were doctors who claimed that if you got bit by a rabid animal, you would wrap that injury, that bite with raw meat or pig fat for up to 4 days in order to make the rabies go away. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
What's funny? There were several people that took that dead ass serious. I think how crazy that sounds. But that was like when somebody in 18 something tied a pork chop around their cut.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like legit crazy. I don't know what witchcraft was happening there, but that sounds full crazy that you could like transfer the rabies from your body to the meat.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
It doesn't. I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like some of the things I kind of get where I'm like, okay, here's a logical progression to how you decided like, oh, you needed some raw meat on it. But the fact that like you're just wrapping a wound with raw meat while you're going insane. That's what rabies does. It makes your brain melt and you're like losing your mind and you keep wrapping raw meat around yourself. This is not a good look.
It's also not a good look because doctors back then certainly understood that if you have a wound in like a battle in a war, you'd wrap it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You would like tend to the wound with like that. You would like sterilize it and at least wrap it at a minimum. I've seen enough black and white pictures from like the Civil War where niggas had full no leg and wrapped bandages. So they're not unaware that a wound should be wrapped. I guess that's the part where I don't understand why you would then put raw meat on top of an open wound, but you would never do that to like do anything else.
Right. Why wouldn't you do that for an amputation? Why aren't we
why would you do that then either?
Yeah, if I lost some meat, put some more meat there and now I got my meat back. But instead they're like, nah, just for rabies. That's the only reason you would do that.
Or even if they used the meat to suck out bacteria, but that was how they did all things back then.
Exactly.
That's the part. I don't know why the rabies is so specific. Yeah, I like lose that. That's horrible.
Okay, we're losing that. Here's a fun one. Apparently, there were doctors in the early 19th century who believed that vibrators could cure hysteria. They actually accidentally found the invention of the vibrator this way, but they believed that women who suffered from hysteria, which hysteria, to be clear, was basically anything from menstrual cramps to like a headache. At any point that a woman felt anything, they were calling this shit hysteria. And when a woman became hysterical, they would then prescribe I want to make sure that I'm getting this correctly, that they would use a vibrating machine, a pelvic massage that would ultimately accidentally, I guess, lead to an orgasm or a hysterical paroxysm. I don't know how to say words, but the point is they would bring these women to busting a nut and they felt like this was the cure to their mental hysteria. Your thoughts?
Keep that immediately. Because I do notice whenever my wife is like very frustrated or headachy or feeling a little bit like antsy, I know when we start fucking, shit ends up being cool. So I think that's actually a fair practice that still works today.
Busting a nut ain't never hurt nobody, and
never hurt nobody.
I don't know if it cures hysteria, but it certainly ain't. It ain't making your hysteria worse. You know?
No, it cures mine for sure.
I love that. Okay, here's another fun one. Apparently, there was a period in this country where we believed that you could use heroin to cure a cough, that morphine and heroin were sort of like going back and forth in terms of popularity, and heroin won it out for a while, and we were kicking morphine because apparently people were getting addicted to morphine. And so heroin was basically now pitched as something 5 times more effective for curing the cough without the addictive qualities that morphine had. Your thoughts?
Well, we clearly got that wrong, right? Yeah, you couldn't cough anymore because you're like full, like drug-induced slobbering on yourself.
It did cure the cough.
It definitely cured the cough. Yeah, because aren't they the same? Aren't they both from opium? Isn't it like, it's so funny that they're both basically, it's like that Spider-Man meme of pointing at each other.
Yeah.
Like, you're addictive.
I think they're correct that one is 5 times stronger, but yeah, they're not so different that it's like, oh, you simply must use this one over this one.
I'm not not gonna lie. Sometimes the cough is, I feel good. Like, if I like a little bit of heroin, like maybe like 5% heroin, like
Yeah.
95%, like 95% Theraflu, 5% heroin.
A little heroin light. A little.
Yeah, just like a little, like a dip. Like it was just dipped and pulled out. I'm
Yeah.
not coughing, no fever. I slobber on myself,
Sure. You see God for a second, but you don't get a good look at God. You just get a little glance
Yeah,
at
just a peek, just a little peek. Like not addictive, just like enough just to get through the day, baby.
So am I safe to presume that this isn't quite a lose it? This is somewhere in
No,
between a use it and a lose it?
I think this is like if there was a category, I would say put this in the use it research department.
Let's do some trials. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, like a use it R&D incubator lab. Let's just like see what that gets going.
I love that. Okay, this is our last one, and this is my personal favorite of the list. Apparently, let me make sure I get these times right. I don't know if I'm going to get these times right. There was a point in our country, let's just say it's that.
Okay.
There was a time in our country where it was believed that we could use shock treatments to cure impotence. That that if you were impotent, if you couldn't get hard, you would sit in a bath that was then run with electrodes, and you would get electrocuted in this bath water, and that would, I guess, get you rock hard afterwards. Your thoughts?
Well, you know what? If a woman can be cured of hysteria with a vibrator, then damn it, I'm a man up and get my ball shocked in water. So I say use it, man. Do what you got. I mean, hey man, I'll say this. Different than Viagra, because Viagra might make you shit yourself and a bunch of other things.
Yep.
I know this is definitely going to just do one thing.
Yeah.
It's going to kill me or make me rock hard. Either way, that's only two outcomes.
I will say that to that point, you see those commercials about the dick pills where they're like, oh no, please don't be hard for more than 4 hours because something could go wrong. I think if you can get electrocuted and you stay hard for 5-6 hours, it's fine. You're fine. The pill's not doing anything to you. You know what I mean? The electricity is just flowing through that hard penis and you're doing all right.
These docs had it figured out. Some of these doctors had it figured out.
And this is where we lost America. You know, we had it figured out and we let all these freedoms for other people get in the way. We got to go back to mistreating women and black people and curing impotence with electricity and shit. All right. Prentice, I think we did it. This was a wonderful episode.
Solved it, man.
It was a great time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate being a part of it.
Could you tell the people at home where they can find you and what cool shit you have going on?
Yeah, obviously you can be watching the last season of Insecure and Pause with Sam J next year, and on Instagram and Twitter at _A_Apprentice, The Apprentice. And I'll be doing some stuff at Disney under my new deal. So I'll be doing it there for the next 4 years. So people can check shit out when it comes out.
Hell yeah. So follow Prentice, watch Insecure, watch Pause with Sam J. And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman. And if you want to send us drops, if you want to send us your own conspiracy theories, you can send them to mymommapod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Oh, and if you're in Los Angeles on December 15th, come to the Hotel Cafe where I will be hosting another one of our lovely Langston Kerman and Freak shows. It's a good time. It's just us doing comedy and talking shit. Anyway, that's it. Okay, bye, bitch.